Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning to Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Fauzi Abdul Hussein, the Deputy Dean for Research and Innovation, Faculty of Science, Social and Humanity, UTM, Associate Professor Dr. Nasrul Nisa Muhammad Mohd, the Chair Academy of Dr. Ahmadullah Abdullah, the Assistant Organization, Dr. Mansurah Ibrahim, the Director for the Journal Publication Workshop for the Researcher in Islamic Studies, is Issue in Islamic World, Integrity for Christian Subject. Honorable Speaker, Distinguished Professor, Associate Professor, Lecturer, Researcher, and also fellow participants. First, a warm welcome to everyone to Journal Publication Workshop for the Researcher in Islamic Studies, Issue in Subject. This workshop is organized by Academy of Islamic Civilization in collaboration with Journal of Aqidah and Islamic Thought, AFKAR, Journal of Al-Tamadun, University Malaya, Journal of Islamic Thought and Civilization, JITC, International Journal of Islamic and Civilization Study, UMRAN, and all research group in Academy of Islamic Civilization, RT. My name is Nur Izzati binti Muhammad Roslan, and I will be your MC for today. Before we let's begin our workshop today with a Dua recitation. Dr. Kari bin Kamaruddin, Senior Lecturer of Academy of Islamic Civilization, to recite the Dua. Please welcome Dr. Kari.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala maulana Muhammadin nur al-muzhibi linisyan minuri wa ala alihi fi kuhmati wa nafasin adada ma wasi'ahu amallah. Allahumma aftah alaina hikmataka wa anshur alaina min khazaini rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Allahumma ashrah lana sudurana wa yassir lana umurana wahlul 'uqdatam min alsinatina yafqahu qawlana ya hayyun ya qayyum birahmatika nastaghitsu aslih lana sya'nina kullah wa la takilna ila anfusina tarfata 'ain. Allahumma inna nas'aluka 'ilman nafi'a wa rizqan thayyiba wa 'amalan mutaqabbala. Allahumma la sahla illa ma ja'altaha sahla wa anta ja'alul hazna idza syi'ta sahla. Allahumma inna na'udzubika min munkaratil akhlaq wal a'mal wal ahwa. Allahumma ja'alna muflihin. Allahumma ja'alna muflihin. Allahumma ja'alna muflihin. Fa idza 'azamta fatawakkal 'ala Allah. Innallaha yuhibbul mutawakkilin. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanatan wa qina 'adzabannar. Wa qina 'adzabannar. Wa qina 'adzabannar. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Walhamdulillahirabbil alamin.
Ya Rabbal Alamin. Thank you very much, Dr. Kari, for the Dua recitation. Now, I would like to welcome Dr. Mansurah Ibrahim, the director for the Journal Publication Workshop for the Researcher in Islamic Studies, Issue in Islamic World, Integrity, a Forgotten Subject, for the welcoming speech. Welcome, Dr. Mansur.
Thank you, Dr. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Hello, everyone. Good morning and warm greetings to you all. It is with great pleasure that we welcome you virtually to the Journal Publication Workshop for the Researchers in Islamic Studies today in this webinar. The Journal Publication Workshop aims to address the relevant Islamic aspects of ideas and viewpoints in different contexts from experts in Islamic studies. This workshop oriented toward publishing high-quality papers which focus on diversity in terms of publications in index journals, the essential of writing skills, constructing quality of academic papers, selection criteria for the academic papers, citing and referencing Islamic sources, roles and responsibilities of editors and reviewers, and criteria of evaluation of papers. The keynote speech on a forgotten subject in Islamic world of this event by Dr. Nadiatus will grant integrity as a crucial topic in modern times. Psychological concepts of integrity have primarily focused on descriptive models of character, traits, and values that are generally regarded as positive by society. This most important characteristic of integrity is complying with rules, laws, and regulations. However, there has not been a lot of research into the deeper connection between personality and integrity. Hope that you will be impressed by her speech soon. The scientific workshop is a significant guide to getting published effectively and consistently in high-impact journals. Distinguished editors-in-chief of this event, including Professor Dr. Roslan, Associate Professor Dr. Kader, Associate Professor Dr. Humaira, and Associate Professor Dr. Mohammed Fauzi, are with us to introduce reputable journals in Islamic thoughts and civilization throughout 4 sessions to share a variety of guidelines, instructions, and policies in order to gain insights and comprehension by integrating tips and tricks and best practices of their successful journals. Writing a scholarly research paper for academic journals is very competitive. This program is an opportunity to reopen the door in some way in sharing knowledge, experiences, and skills from our eminent speakers. And it is a key way for authors in providing exposure to have their work validated, to write effectively, and to structure their papers. By recognizing of referencing Islamic sources, as well as evaluation criteria in writing a clear and concise paper, you can attract the attention of journal editors and reviewers. We wish the discussion on publication in Islamic studies via a wide range of information and experiences would deliberate eventually to enhance the number of publication of researchers and the response to our team's endeavors as an event of success. We extend this welcome to our eminent Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities, Professor Dr. Zaidatun Bint Tassir, and to our Deputy Dean of Research, Innovation and Development, Associate Professor Dr. Mohammed Fauzi bin Abu Hussein. Our regards also extend to Chair of Academy of Islamic Civilization, Associate Professor Dr. Nasrul Hisham bin Nur Muhammad. Our heartfelt gratitude extends to the honorable speakers who accepted our invitation. We wish to thank our colleagues, participants, MC, and moderators. Last but not least, I'm extremely grateful to our organizing committee and colleagues for their exhaustive assistance and efforts. Thank you very much for your participation, and I wish you a pleasant time in this webinar. Dr. Izzati, I'll get back to you. Dr. Izzati, I guess your mic is mute. Please unmute your mic.
Next, I would like to welcome the Deputy Research and Innovation Officer for the welcoming. Please welcome the
Okay, anyway, thank you very much, Dr. Izzati, although your voice was not quite clear actually. Just maybe your internet connection is not that good. Anyway, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the journal publication workshop for the researchers in Islamic Studies. Alhamdulillah, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala sayyidina Muhammad. Rabbi yassir wa la ta'sir, Rabbi tamam bil khair. Alhamdulillah, thanks to the moderator Dr. Izzati and the organizer for allowing me to give this welcoming address on behalf of our dean, Professor Zaidatun Tasir, who is not able to join us today because she's having auditing program for today, because we have audit for the master program in other school, so she's need to be present in the meeting. So I would like to send a salam, welcome to salam to you all, to all participants, and welcome you all to this journal publication workshop for the researchers in Islamic Studies. Alhamdulillah, praise to God, praise to Allah that we managed to organize this program, and thanks to all the Jawatankuasa, the committee, and also Director Dr. Mansoureh, and our distinguished speaker for today's for this morning sessions, Dr. Nadiatus Salama, PhD program, Postgraduate School of Social Science and Humanities, Hiroshima University, Japan. Thanks for being with us, Doctor. Hopefully we can learn something from you, and all the participants can learn from the speech, the talk that will be shared by you later on. Okay, on behalf of the Faculty of Social Science and Humanities at the university, I wish to extend my heartiest welcome and utmost gratitude to all participants to this virtual workshop. Although you are not able to come to UTM, Dr. Nadia, maybe probably next year when everything's come to normal, hopefully we can have a physical workshop with all speakers and participants. So this is the background. If you can see my background, is actually the UTM campus. Okay, behind me is a mosque, and then it's surrounded by faculties. It is a very unique architecture actually. It is inspired by the Islamic tradition actually, where a mosque become a centers to disseminate knowledge, and it is surrounded by the faculties, schools, and academics around the mosque. I think quite numbers of the universities in Malaysia also, adopt this philosophy, like UIA and few others university. All right. Thanks to all participants. I've been informed. I noted that we have received quite overwhelming participations, registrations from all the lecturers, students, to join this program. Alhamdulillah. Although it is actually beyond our expectations, and we received 50 something participants, 54 participants from all our all in from different university in Malaysia, and also we received a few participants from Brunei, Indonesia, and Gaza. Alhamdulillah. I believe this workshop is the momentous efforts undertaken by our research. This workshop actually been organized, undertaken by the research groups in Academy of Islamic Studies in collaboration with other few journals like Journal Afkar, Journal Tamadun, and also Umran. I'm the guest editor. I'm an editor in chief for Umran. So we take this effort to actually help our researchers, our young lecturers, our PhD students, how to get their paper published, how to understand the tricks of publishing journal articles. Although there are few others medium that we can publish our research, we can also publish in popular article, in books, for example. But I believe in Malaysia, in Malaysian university, publishing in journal articles, especially in the index journals, is very much crucial for those who want to graduate in their PhD program, for the promotions and etc. Nowadays, this is a need. This is a need that we need to publish. The academics need to publish in the index journal, and I think compared to 10 years ago, uh, uh, the situation is much better right now, because if I can remember when I was firstly joined academics 10 years ago, it was quite difficult to find journals indexed in Scopus or Web of Science from the Islamic Studies area. It's very difficult. Sometimes we have to maneuver, sometimes we have to find ways, collaborate with other researchers in social science and humanities to get our paper published. But now, in Malaysia, for example, there are quite numbers of journals that been indexed in Scopus and Web of Science database. But in order to maintain the Scopus status, or the Web of Science Scopus, Web of Science status, they need to maintain the quality. So I think this is the right time. How can we write a proper paper, a good paper, to be published in the right journal? Because quite a numbers also PhD students, they do not know what are the criteria of the good journal, or sustainable index journal. Why I say sustainable? Because some of the journals they only index for 1 year, and then the following year is been dropped or missed from the database. So I believe for today's program, today and tomorrow, we will learn something. We will learn how to identify the right journal with all speakers. The speakers that we bring today and tomorrow are, most of them are the editors of the index journals, high quality journals in Islamic studies. So I hope that you will learn something from these sessions, inshallah. We have students, lectures in these sessions. This workshop, I believe that this will enhance knowledge and writing skills, especially in the area of Islamic studies. Before I end my remarks, I would like to again congratulate the organizer and the committees for this successful event. To all participants, I hope you enjoy and get valuable session with invited speakers in this workshop. I wish you a pleasant time to this workshop, and feel free to engage and communicate with the speakers, because the speakers that we brought for this program, I think is the most valuable speakers that we can ask any questions for our publication, inshallah. All right, again, thank you very much. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And back to you, Dr. Izzati.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fauzi, for the welcoming remarks. Now we will begin our keynote speech by our keynote speakers. But before that, please allow me to introduce the background of our speaker a little bit before we go into her speech. Dr. Nadiatus Salama is a lecturer in the Department of Communication and Islamic Broadcasting, Faculty of Da'wah and Communication at Universitas Islam Negeri Wali Songo in Semarang, Indonesia. She earned her PhD in psychology from Hiroshima University, Japan, and a master degree in psychology from Gajah Mada University, Indonesia, and her bachelor degree for communication studies from 11 Maret University, Indonesia. She has interest in psychology, organizational behavior, integrity, and ethics. Our speaker today will be talking about integrity, which is considered as the crucial topic in the modern times. As we know, a person with integrity will adhere to sound moral and ethical principle and always do right thing regardless of who is watching. She will be highlighted on the connection between the psychological and integrity, moral psychology, and why cultural background is important in shaping integrity. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Nadiatus Salama to begin her keynote speech. Welcome, Doctor. どうぞよろしくお願いします。
Okay, thank you, Mrs. or Miss
Yeah.
Izzati binti Muhammad Nurjilana. Arigatou gozaimasu.
Yeah, どういたしまして。
How do you know this language? Okay, good morning, everyone. Okay, I'd like to share my discussion about integrity. But beforehand, this morning, I'm very happy that I can share my experience. I meet you, many colleagues from UTM, and as Mr. Fauzi said, I hope maybe someday I can visit UTM in Kuala Lumpur. Okay. Now, beforehand, I will share my file, but I don't know, maybe Dr. Suri can share my PowerPoint, because in this system I cannot share. Don't know why.
Dr. Nadiatus,
Yeah.
did you change your slides or the same as you? Is that exactly the same as you shared with me yesterday?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, let me.
I think you can try again, Dr. Nadia.
Can you try this?
Cannot. This also happened when I use Zoom application. I don't know.
I think we'll be waiting for the answer. Which will be
Okay.
Let me share that. No problem.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay. This moment I will present my my presentation, my topic about integrity, because sometimes someone said about we have to have integrity, we have to be ethical, we have to have moral, but actually sometimes they don't understand, and they don't have it. Even anytime they said about we have to have integrity. Okay, thank you, Dr. Suri.
You're welcome.
So what is integrity actually? Integrity is like from Latin language, like integral. So it's about whole, harmony, about intact, wholeness or completeness, as a consistency and coherence of something. something like that. That it's concerned about behavior, process, procedure, in a broad sense that demonstrate a general way of acting morally and ethically. However, the concept have so far focused mainly on descriptive model of character features and values conceptually perceived by the society as what we call as positive. So a person with integrity acts with honesty, honor, truthfulness, and act on their principles. But in formal study of the term integrity and its meaning in modern ethics, integrity not only as a refusal to engage in behavior that evades responsibility, but it's come in a broad sense. Like, so what is integrity actually? Next, Dr. Suri. Next slide. Okay, thank you. Integrity in this case require 3 steps. The first one is discerning of understanding or seeing what is right and what is wrong. And second, acting on what you have discerned, what you have understand, what you have see about beforehand, about the personal cause, and saying openly that you are acting on your understanding of right from wrong. So, however, the integrity is sometimes not the same as honesty. So maybe someone call it as honesty, but this is not honesty at all. So to have integrity means that a person is self-aware, accountable, responsible, and truthful, and that their actions are internally consistent. They act on their principles. So achieving and maintaining a good level of integrity is deemed to be founded in the capacity for autonomous recognition of the mentioned consensual positives, which itself sought ensue in altruistic behavior. Altruistic means someone want to do anything or something for others, yeah, that subordinates personal gain just for universal justice. But people who, on the other hand, prioritize personal gain over the wishes and rights of others and do not hesitate to use power, force, or personal status and wealth, or even lying, cheating, or stealing to get what they want are classified as having poor integrity. So, next slide. Dr. Suri. Okay. So, what is the characteristic of integrity? Actually, we cannot identify whether this is integrity at all in as a whole, but this is part of someone who have integrity. Like when it comes to operating with integrity, the most important characteristic of integrity is complying with rules, someone who obey the laws, someone who obey the regulations. This was the most popular definition about acting responsibly to colleagues, to customer, to supplier in business, for example, and behaving with high ethical standard and doing the right thing even when nobody is watching, because Allah is always watching, like that. So integrity, however, integrity is something that everyone should develop, yeah, from CEO, let's say like CEO, from the board right down to junior employee, business partner, and third party. In not only is in business or not only in economy, but also in politics, in social life, in academia also. So integrity is the quality of having strong ethical principles that are followed at all the time. Honesty and trust are the central to integrity as its consistency. However, until now, it's difficult reference about integrity, especially for qualitative research. Yeah, because we are interviewing, we investigating, not like using quantitative that we share like a questionnaire, something like that, but we are interviewing one-to-one, and sometimes it's difficult to use FGD. That's why this is not simple. So that's why I hope all of you will inspire with the topic of integrity. It's not easy to explore, not easy to investigate, but this is possible. This is possible, but not easy. But I hope you can do this also. So the first one, why the topic about integrity, or like morality, ethic is not easy, because the first one, actually still so many reasons why topic about integrity is lack in the research. The first one, because the innate human ability to always justify their behavior. The perpetrators, like for example in the case of corruption, they always justify the choice. Oh, this is not really cheating. This is not a big deal. This is not a big sin, or something that, oh, because everyone else do this, everyone else does it, or because my boss asked me to do so, my manager asked me to do so, or other argumentation, for example, because this is a business, and in business very competitive, and if I don't give bribery, for example, if I don't give bribery, my customer, my client will not buy my product, so my company will getting lose. So in other words, the perpetrators, the wrongdoers, the villain, always rationalize, always justify their situational behavior, and this way they can still consider themselves to be honest, to be, I am still a good person. This kind of behavior can happen in at work, in business, in politics. For example, like in selling and buying, for example, do we tell customers about all of the words on our products, about the bad side of our product, or about there is a dot, or there is what negative something in our product? Do we reveal everything to a prospective buyer during due diligence? Is it acceptable to manipulate certain aspect of our background in a resume? Oh, I am very amazing, I am an extraordinary person, blah blah blah. So what's considered a legitimate expense on a business trip? How much of billable time is really devoted to a client? And how honest should I be when giving feedback to my boss or subordinate, to my employee, for example? None of these situations have clear answer, and no corporate policy can cover every contingency. As a result, no matter what choice we make, we can convince ourselves that it was made with integrity. And in academic work, for example, we know that there is like fabrication, right? Fabrication, like make up the data or result and recording or reporting them, and also falsification. Falsification is like manipulating research material, equipment, and process, or changing or omitting the data, not make accurate represented in the research record, and also like plagiarism as well. Yeah, plagiarism is the appropriation of another person's ideas, result, or word without giving appropriate credit. That is the first one, yeah, because everyone has in it human ability to always justify, to always rationalize their unethical behavior. And the second one, everyone defines integrity differently. So falsifying information to one person might be considered an acceptable practice to another. This is further exacerbated by differences in culture. For example, in some cultures, people are expected to openly do favor for each other, while in other cultures, those favors would be considered wrongdoing, illegal, unethical, something like that. And we will discuss about it later. The relation between integrity and culture. And then still, there is why the research, the topic, the discussion about integrity is rare, because researchers that investigate unethical behavior are not safe, because too many people involved in society's invisible work, in invisible networks, receive benefit from this crime, from this unethical behavior, let's say like in corruption, in bribery. Thus, those who investigate unethical behavior are their enemies, opposite, putting the lives of those investigators in danger. That's why. And also the case of slipperiness of unethical behavior to examine the integrity, make analysis problematic. Why this is problematic? Because it happened both everywhere and nowhere, and has never been made explicit. Actually, it happened, but this is invisible, because like corruption or any unethical behavior, they interlock each other between perpetrators, between every actor, they connected each other, they always interlock the information, the case always hidden among themselves, so nobody knows, but this is happen, this is exist, but this is not easy to provide evidence, to provide proof. And the last one, related to religion, past and present religious laws have numerous contextual differences. Indeed, contemporary notes about crime simply did not exist in early societies and religious authorities. For example, like money laundering, and then like financial technology that we use now, but there isn't in that era, in the past time. So that's why someone said this is legal, this is a law, so we can do this permissively, for example, like that. So this is not due to a restriction of religious values, but to modern life and unethical conduct having become infinitely more complex at the moment in this modern time. Next. Okay. And integrity in Eastern context. How about the integrity in Eastern context? Because the meaning, the implication of integrity in Eastern world is different from the Western world. Bias, culture bias, yeah, in perception and interpretation between, let's say, Asian, like us, Asian and Western societies may not only be affected by social and cultural background, but also by the environment in which the individual resides. which individual live, stay. So not only Asian people focus more on relationships, but actually like Latino, Latin American also tend to have the same culture. They also justify their unethical behavior. They like to be more collectivist and particularistic, influenced by high power distance. Similarly, likewise, integrity might manifest as making local interpretation of ambiguous information. Asian people always have a justification that unethical behavior is culturally and historically contingent. That condition impact the definition of integrity because what is perceived as right or wrong, acceptable and unethical and ethical is not always clear because they hide behind cultural background. For example, in countries like Bangladesh, China, Nepal, for instance, public official who issues favors for a remuneration of some kind within an established network is not corrupt. His or her their actions are simply a social obligation to help and deal within the network are considered normal because they have to help others. They have to help their network. So this is normal, they said. So as I said before, the definition about integrity raise question of cultural bias. Yeah. Okay. For example, Pakistan. I will mention one by one. For example, in a short description. In Pakistan, there is some about biradari. This is a Urdu language. Next slide, Dr. Suri. Okay, thank you. In Pakistan, there is a biradari implying extended family or brotherhood or tribe. Pakistan people have responsibility not only to their families, but also to their biradari to live in a decent life or bring stability or so their family can live normal, happily. Living in such an imbalanced society is difficult for people of Pakistan, so they survive with the support of their biradari family and kinship connection. Biradari system is underlying reason for the weakness of state, but it also brings steadiness in the society. Pakistani political elites, particularly in the countryside, rely for their power not just on their fortune, but their headship of clans or kinship networks. It plays a vital role in upholding the control of the elites, while asserting the influence of the system. Claim that it is so convincing that it can influence a father to kill much loved daughter. Yeah, so because of the system biradari, a father can kill a much loved daughter or son for marrying outside the biradari without permission. However, I think if their income, people in Pakistan, the income is underpaid, it compels them to take bribe because this is biradari system. Pakistan, Indonesia, and Malaysia, I think Islamic societies and their governance system have complex histories encompassing kingdom as well as colonization in the past time. So this is not 100% same, but a bit similar. And other, for example, a case from Saudi Arabia. There is a term wasta. This is Arabic word, wasat, I think. That means to obtain benefit through social connection that otherwise would not be provided. This is an intervention of a patron to gain favor for a client from the third party. So I think wasat like a intermediary, right? Yeah. So the use of wasat can be noun, can be a noun, or can be a pattern or a verb, the act of negotiation. And the degree of its use changes among Arab countries. So Arab countries performing a simple task without it can become a frustrating exercise. Arab countries and Pakistan share the same religion of Islam, so most of their cultural and social network have a close resemblance. It can be said that the biradari system in Pakistan draws its inspiration from Wast. But the consequence of these two are different. Not following the biradari system can get people killed, while in Wasat or Guangxi in China, not sad thing happen. Wasat and Guangxi are mostly associated with economic transaction, whereas the biradari system runs the whole social life in Pakistan. So yeah, they always system to justify their unethical behavior. However, they still said we are integrity people. I am integrity person. In Israel also have the term like similar to wasta that we call as protexia. Protexia is a preferential treatment, favoritism, and nepotism. But really, what it means having the correct links at the right time at the right place to get our work done. And also in Brazil, Latin American, Chaitinho. The term is Chaitinho. It's practiced in many segments of the Brazilian society. It refers to creative ways to reach a short-term solution to a problem. So the people working together may or may not be formally acquainted. So protexia is similar to wasat, and in Brazil, Chaitinho is practiced in many segments of society. And now in China, we move to China. There is a term Guangxi. Guangxi is translated as connection, networking, relationships, and this is normal in China. Guangxi is the fundamental dynamics in personalized social network of power and is a crucial system of belief in Chinese culture. Guangxi refers to having personal trust and strong relationship with someone and can involve moral application and exchanging favors. Sometimes incorrectly perceived in Western business as bordering or on unethical behavior associated with corruption. However, this is a core part of doing business in China. Guangxi can also be used to describe a network of contact, which an individual can call upon when something needs to be done and through which they can exert influence on behalf of another. So Guangxi can have a direct impact on conducting business, including market expansion and sales growth. Maintaining open bureaucratic relationship can also help business set up with minimum delays. So, but it can also bring challenges. So people from West countries like let's say Australia, Europe, Australia, for example, Australian business might understandably struggle to integrate Guangxi into their business practice. The key is to remain diligent and be aware that the reciprocal nature of Guangxi also dictates on informal. But this is not easy because the way of thinking are different. Right? In Chinese or in other country, this is maybe they can say that this is normal, this is not illegal, this is ethical. But how about other people who have not Guangxi? How about other people who have not a connection? For example, someone who come from village or that do not have connection with rank people in the city or in the capital of country, so they will never have the opportunity to increase, to improve their quality life. But they said this is normal, but this is not integrity at all. So however, building Guangxi involves a long-term approach. It can be done in several ways. For example, general knowledge of China. Relationship can be added and built with some general knowledge of China and its culture. This can assist to establish an immediate connection to a new Chinese contact. And for second, formal introduction. Because Chinese people prefer to do business with people they have a personal connection with. It can help if you are introduced to a prospective business associate through an intermediary. The higher the social status that your connection has, so the more successful you are likely to be at being introduced to the right people, to the high rank people, or to the key decision makers. And also in Guangxi, sometimes a person or people giving. This is important aspect of doing business and building relationship in China, like giving dining, entertainment. Yeah. Once you have established relationship in China, so you are likely to be invited to dinner and other form of entertainment, including golf. As we know, the membership of golf is very expensive. Yeah, it's very, very expensive. Night clubbing or karaoke. So this is entertainment. So if we are invited for dinner, arrive on time, remove shoes before entering, and take a gift, the dining is commonly used to gently prove position without any formal commitment. So how about in Malaysia? I don't know. But in Indonesia, I will share the experience to some extent, yeah. Not always, but to some extent, sometimes money is considered as fertilizer with it in gender social relation, right? So social relations support patronage network in shaping institutional of corruption. In this case, I choose corruption, so to make it easy. But as I said before, it can happen in any field, in any section in life. Yeah, in politics, economy, culture, security, and anything. In Indonesia, there is a logic of the upeti, yeah, as I wrote. Upeti, like to honor someone, give a tribute to the king from his followers, from the people. So upeti system that reflect the patron-client relationship. In upeti system, it seems that bribe givers are the active party who initiate giving bribes, and bribe takers are the passive victim who receive bribes. Indeed, in the past, bribe takers were among the power holders in society. That's why they were bribed. However, in modern era, bribe givers might be more powerful than bribe takers. In this case, they are clients or government officials. So, however, the overall patriarchal culture and traditional gender stereotypes contribute to the shaping of these differences, along with gender bias, institutional culture, practice, and procedure. Under this patron-client relationship, bribe takers pressure and demand bribe giver to give bribes because they control choice of who will be a winner in bidding or in auction. However, this outdated and abused tradition deeply rooted in business, and because of this tradition, business people still tend to continue this unethical behavior. So This became habituated. This is become tradition. This is become culture. This condition resulted from the oligarchic tradition in Eastern culture. Eastern people have different terms for different occasions of gift giving. Some of them overlapping with what Westerners call bribes. Bias in perception and interpretation between Eastern and Western society may be only be affected by social and cultural background, but also by environment. So if ethical behavior left unchecked, it can spread and become ingrained among society, among organizational members in ways that may eventually finally embed in culture of a corporation, company, organization, and even in country. So consequently, the system become systemic and deeply embedded. Sometimes some people cannot differentiate easily among which is this is bribe, this is gift, this is tribute, this is charity, or this is barter, since they exchange them frequently, very frequently. So we can predict that they often make mistake in identifying these various payment, unable to draw the lines between them properly. So consequently, many people appear incapable of distinguish. They cannot differentiate between right and wrong, between ethical or unethical, between acceptable or unacceptable, because they find it difficult to characterize their bribes as bribe or wrongdoing as wrongdoings. So despite agreement that both concern right and wrong or good and evils, different interpretation of the term upon, especially in the realm of philosophy and the study of ethics. So in our discussion, the term ethical and moral are almost always used as a synonym, both to denote the principle of right and wrong in conduct. So again, in Indonesia, for example, but I think in Southeast Asia, the culture is a bit similar. There is a term about balas budi. I don't know what is the term balas budi in Malaysia. Is it similar or different?
Pretty similar, Doctor.
Similar, okay. Yeah, for example, if there is a uncle has a high position in office, he become the what elite, or become elite people in country, in government, become high rank people in government, and he has a nephew or niece, and that need need a job, and the uncle allow please his nephew or niece to the uncle give a position to his nephew or please come to my office and I will give you a position, blah blah blah. This is sometimes happen, and even this is unethical, but uncle has the justification that this is not nepotism, this is not corruption, this is not collusion, this is not unethical, this is legal. Because I help my nephew, I help my niece, so what's wrong? So what is my mistake? I only help. because everyone has to help other people, right? They said so. And yeah, time goes by, and then this nephew step by step have a high position as well in this office, in this as a high rank people, as high rank person. And if he has a cousin, the son or the daughter of his uncle, yeah, so his cousin, right? He has a cousin to who need a job as well, and he also give a position to his cousin, and this is what we call as balas budi. So what's wrong with what I've done? This is not illegal, this, because I did the right thing, because I help. And in Islam, everybody has to help others, right? So that this is happen in some places. Even, yeah, I think government try to make a better system, but sometimes it still happen. Maybe we can compare about this in every countries, in every place in Southeast Asia. And now we discuss about the connection between integrity and religions. Some studies claim that religion prevent corruption. Religion prevents unethical behavior. But in some studies, the studies demonstrate this is not correct. Even, yeah, in hierarchical religions, including Catholics, Orthodox Christianity, and Islam, increase corrupt practices, perhaps because religion with a strong hierarchy, inhibited the development of trust as the primary factor contributing to increasing integrity in society. Even, yeah, there is a significant statistical relationship between religion and ethical decision process, higher preference for corporate social responsibility and dimension of ethics. That in sharp contrast to such evidence, some existing studies report that religion has no significant effect on integrity, on corruption. No relationship between individual religious orientation and unethical decision. So we can say that no relation between religiosity and dishonesty, cheating, and ethical behavior, unethical behavior. Thus, religion is not a substantial barrier to giving or taking bribes. In other words, it is logical to deduce that practicing religious teaching does not always reflect that individuals have integrity and reject corruption. So, in general, integrity is absolutely an individual choice. Integrity is about about personal choice. So, I will discuss this further. As we know that religion is what, like an issue that sound holier than only business deal in business discourse. However, it does not hinder, it does not inhibit those with immoral aims, and is likely to be used unethical way to pursue someone's ambitions. However, even though the Muslims or religious people, I said religious, not spiritual people, even though Muslim majority is cautious on aware or very careful about halal and haram, permissible and forbidden status of food, beverages, good, pharmaceutical, or even clothing, it appears that people do not seriously consider integrity behavior in business, in politics, in economy, and even in academia. where many are subject to financial temptation. Some Muslims have spoken out about such double standard. If business people, if someone prepare to get profit in business, they are also likely to use any other tools available to win, to get the profit in business competition. They use religion to which they turn into a commodity. So how can it happen? So the term religiosity can be used to manipulate, can be used to manipulate, to hide, to mistake of individual in their religious aspiration. For example, bribe actor or corrupt person who offer corruption that looks religious might be considered as good experience because they help and give others the way to paradise. How come the way to give paradise? We will discuss it later about the paradise here. Corruption also function to hide evil and lessen the poor image and negative perception of business practices. Furthermore, when they do not obey all rules of their religion, they only use religion as an excuse to be wrongdoers. Thus, corruption can look like moral behavior from local perspective. Some business people may justify their corruption through false argumentation about moral basis, as business is very competitive for survive. This is not a big deal. Life is so short, and yeah, something like that. And other business people might justify their corruption, their unethical behavior through false interpretation of religion. Even though the wrongdoer, the perpetrators are knowledgeable, they are high-ranked people in the country, they well educated, they are religious person, but this characteristic did not influence or guarantee their integrity. People who appear religious evidently, just like other ordinary people who have intermittent moral. Intermittent moral is sometimes on, off, on, off, on and off, on and off, something like that. So yeah, sometimes they do good, sometimes they do bad things. So they don't always apply religious values sincerely and honestly. For example, in business, in trading. In Islam, agreement is a compulsion, is a coercion, right? In Islam, in business, the transaction halal or legitimate law if there is a agreement between them, between buyer and seller. However, they use the justification from, let's say, from Al-Quran, An-Nisa 29. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ayyuhalladzina amanu la ta'kulu amwalakum bainakum bil batil illa an takuna tijaratan an taradin minkum. This word antarodin minkum. Antarodin minkum. It means mutual consent. Mutual consent was obtained in business and commercial transaction between seller and buyer, between him and his clients. So based on this reasoning, the paradox of Islam has intervened. They've taken one-sided Islamic teaching for their convenience by their interpretation of Islam, by their false interpretation of Islam, because they said, this is agreement, right? I think it is no problem if I give them bribery, because finally they will buy back my product. So this is mutual consent, this is agreement. So I didn't harm I didn't make anybody hurt. So they said so. They hide under the term of religion, under the verse of the Quran. So the wrongdoer might have thought that although this is bribery, but this is halal, right? So among them may be mutually beneficial, but this illegal transaction collectively undermine the rules. Corrupt actors are not only motivated to justify themselves to others, but also to convince themselves of their rationality by creating their own reasoning. He removed the ambiguity by justifying the ethicality of the transaction through religion to counteract the ill effect of his sin. And they said like, itaqillaha haitsuma kunta wa atbi sayyi'atal hasanata tamhuha. Yeah, be conscious of Allah wherever you are. Follow the bad deed with a good deed. Yeah, follow the bad deed with a good deed. With a good one to erase it and engage other with beautiful character. So the perpetrator said, this is not corruption, but if you still consider me as a bribe actor or corrupt actor, but after this my ugliness, I follow this with kindness, because for example, he give almsgiving to orphan house, to orphanage. They give charity, sodako, zakat, and they do pilgrimage to Makkah. So this is actually happen among Muslims. However, this hadith, yeah, ittaqillah haitsuma kuntam, yeah, wa atbi sayyi'atal hasanata tamhuha. This hadith is not interpreted as allowing believer to engage in unethical behavior as long as they follow it with good deeds. This false assumption contradicts the actual text of the Quran. So furthermore, Muslims are not free to interpret the Quran as they please, meaning that individuals who justify corruption, who justify unethical behavior, are incorrectly applying religion or Islam. So clearly, although some people genuinely obey this Islamic dogma, it doesn't strengthen the sense of humanity and ethics among some business people. This false interpretation in various texts has very important implication for the justification for participating in unethical behavior. Maybe they still consider this is halal, this is we do this based on agreement, but they do not consider about external stakeholder, about other people. Some like us, for example, for instance, in pharmaceutical company and doctors, or publisher and school who bought books. They do not consider about the final price will be passed on to customer with much expensive. Because they pay bribery. So and still so many various insignificant costs he must bear, yeah, someone bear, such as additional entertainment costs and rebate, yeah. The final price consumers must pay would be higher because the cost of bribery is typically added to the final price. Thus, the actual cost of product may be many times higher than its real cost. However, yeah, This situation is not followed by quality and value-added products. This unfair behavior clearly harms, clearly hurt customer through malpractice means, and this is considered criminal and illegal. Consequently, this action considers as dehumanization. It allows to perpetrate heinous cruelty towards victims that are considered nobody. So, and anybody considered as nobody, yeah, because of their unethical behavior. This common belief may be shaped because some people grow up in deeply religious families and societies. So they never ask about this. So they rarely question about this. So intentional or total misreading of religious text can support such fallacy. Through false thinking, religions keep people blinded by all beliefs that are not based on the truth. But sometimes they still confidence with their unethical behavior. They use the term like euphemism to softening the word, like in certain case, like in there is some certain to use to cover, to camouflage the term of bribery, like this apple, how many apples you should pay, how many apple Washington you should pay, and so forth. Yeah, it's really happened. And I think my time is still available, or
You can continue.
okay, I will continue. Thank you. Sometimes bribe giver or someone who some wrongdoers give bribery, like as I give an example before, like give sodako, give it charity to orphan house, or sometimes they give umrah and hajj ticket, because as we know the queue of hajj and hajj is very long, right? Also, this is also happened in Malaysia. How long in Malaysia until now? Yeah, in Indonesia, Hajj pilgrimage in Mecca, yeah, it's about 15, 20, sometimes 25. So the queue for the Hajj is so long because the quota allocation is not compatible with the public interest in performing the Hajj. As a result, consequently, the bribe actor can justify their bribe as honorable. This is impressed for enabling other people dream of going to Mecca to come true. So because giving bribes can make corporation look bad, so they try to beautify themselves to show we are not as terrible as you think, because we also give money for Hajj, for going to the paradise. So due to their superficial appearance of goodness, religious trips, alms giving, this is a manipulation form of corruption on clients. This is not surprising that some ordinary people agree with pseudo-religious bribe, yeah, pseudo-religious gift, since bribe actors appear so saintly, so religious, so knowledgeable, so kind, so pious. So bribe actors may seem quite religious if they display sincere morality. So they use camouflaging strategy where they give bribe that look religious, masking bad graphs as good gift in religious reasoning. So, however, the power of justification and difficulties of definition reveal integrity as a subject that is neither simple and easy. That's why relying on compliance function, policies, rule, and audits is usually inadequate. This mechanism guard against gross and clearly illegal violation of integrity standard, but they do not deal with the integrity choices that we face every day. These choices require personal judgment. So through these topics, integrity is seen as the quality of acting accordance of or harmony with relevant moral values, norm, and rules. A choice based partly on some argument already put forward. And the last slide, yeah, I think. So the justification and varied definition of bad behavior due to cultural and religious background have made integrity a subject that is not simple, not easy, not and also we have to make a rapport. We have to make approach, a long approach to the respondent, to the someone we interview, we investigate. Likewise, studying its behavior, emotional, and cognitive cues always involve moral and ethics. However, the fact demonstrates that there is no operational definition of human integrity because this is not absolute, this is not quantifiable. Okay, this is not absolute and this is not quantifiable. What is good to do from one point of view usually causes some harm from another. The right postulated in one theory has no definition in different conjuncture and so on. The definition is always different, and also like the definition of corruption is always different in between Western and Eastern culture. Here, speaking about its tool, it's good to realize that integrity can never be an objectivist science, and that we should work hard to amend its methodology to fit the contextual nature of its subjects. Okay, I think it's enough. Thanks for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Dr. Nadiatus, for your very interesting presentation. So we are now open the floor. We are now open. To Dr. Nadiatus, I think maybe we are still waiting for the audience to ask you a question. So I'm taking a little bit of the time. So when we talk about the integrity, like you say, it has a steady commitment with the moral values, and also religion, especially in terms of religion, right? So, in your opinion, what are the necessary requirements for an individual to have integrity aside of religion and also moral values?
Sorry, your voice is not smoothly. Yeah.
I am very sorry. I think our internet connection wasn't really good here. I was in campus, so I was asking in terms of integrity, right? Earlier in your presentation, you talk about the commitment between the moral values and also the religion on the integrity. Of course, especially in terms of religion, especially. So, in your opinion, this might be an individual perspective. What are the necessary requirements for an individual to have an integrity, aside from the religion that you've been talking about now? Maybe cultural background also playing parts. Which side do you think play more important or necessarily required?
Okay. Okay. I got your word.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. I will reply now, or we collect the
I
question.
think you can reply now, since I actually
Okay.
doesn't have question yet, so I think let's Sentry answer the question.
Yeah, okay. As we discussed earlier, yeah, beforehand, the integrity is sometimes it's not related to religion. Even ideally, religion prevent us to do unethical behavior. Religion support us to do integrity. But in fact, some villain, some bad people use religion to manipulate their bad behavior, to camouflaging that their bad behavior. So I think so. Not only religion. So in this topic, religion only is not enough to prevent. Even actually, with religion is enough, but sometimes religion only is not enough because someone said, there's no God because someone cannot see God. There is no punishment. There is no hell because hell is later. Because punishment is later when after kiamat. But this is not only happen in Islamic religion, but my friend who come from Philippines, yeah, Filipino, I asked him why because we know most of Filipino are Catholics, right? I asked him why people who follow Catholics are more the country who their people are Catholics are do more corruption than Christian countries. Why? I wonder. I wonder why. So what the difference between Catholic and Christian? Because they have the same God. I mean, I am as an ordinary people. I don't really understand about Catholics and Christian. But why Catholics is Catholics followers do more corrupt than Christian? My Filipino friend said that, oh, this is not about religion at all, but this is about culture. We know that Philippines has been Philippines colonized by Spanish for a long time, and the culture of Spain people rooted in Filipino people as well. And because Spanish people do corruption, so we also do this as well. And this is also happen in Indonesia. Yeah, Dutch people also do corruption, but actually not only because of the Dutch or Netherlands country, but because of the kingdom style in the past time. It happened like I said about the upeti. I don't know in Malaysia, is there anything about the upeti?
Upeti.
But this
I'm not really sure.
give from ordinary people from people to their king.
I think that's a word, but I can't recall right now.
Yeah, for the king because I respect him because I love the king. Please accept me as as your people, as your follower. So they give upeti, bribe, yeah, like client and patron relationship. The gift is rice, chicken. Yes, simple gift, but this is very precious at that time. If they have golden, and they will give it, or maybe fabrics, food, vegetables, simple and not always pricey, but this is a form of respect to their kings. in Western countries, my Japanese people, I think the rate of corruption in Japan is also low. My friend told me that why corruption in Japan is low. It doesn't mean there is no corruption at all in Japan, but at least the level is low. My friend said that because we have a shyness, if we did corruption, if we did unethical behavior, the punishment is not only for me, but also for my children, for my grandchildren. So that's why I don't want to do this, because after they pass away, their children also get the punishment from the people, from the environment. So I think we back to your question. So what is the requirement for to force people to have integrity? I think we do not depend on only culture, religion, but also we have to have strict law, strict regulation, strict rule. If you give bribery, for example, 1,000, and then the government will punish you into the jail something years, and that's it must to be clear, and the law be clear, must be strict, like in Singapore. I think corruption is also low. And in my study, I observe that countries with the people who are the atheist is high, the atheist people, someone who do not believe in God is high, like in Scandinavian countries, that is Finland, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Austria. The atheist people are high, right? Also in New Zealand, Australia, the atheist is high, but the level of corruption is low. So that's why. So this is no relation between religion and corruption. But in religious countries, as we know, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Bangladesh, the level of corruption is very high. This is not only Islam, but also Hindu. India also have the high level of corruption. They are Hindus. Also Thailand. Thailand also Buddhist, right? I don't know why the more religious countries, the more higher level of corruption. What's wrong with their system, with their belief? I thought religion is good. Yeah, it's impossible that religion give a bad comment, but why the people do this and protect them under the umbrella of religion? They hide behind in the name of religion.
Okay, Doctor, that's quite interesting when we talk about this, because when you talk about the country, you mentioned on the country like Bangladesh, a few other countries, yeah. Does the social environment or the social situation like poverty, income equality, play a role in the numbers of integrity, the lower numbers of integrity?
Yeah, yes. And yeah, and most of them are developing countries.
I think it does play some certain effect on this, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Is there any question from the audience? because we have around 10 minutes, because if not, maybe my question will be longer with Dr. Nadiatus. Is there any question? Okay, it seems like we don't have a question from the audience just now. But come back to my question just now. You did your study in integrity and also culture, right? Like I mentioned earlier, the numbers of the country that have these lowest of integrity seems like come with the country that have a high numbers of poverty or highest numbers of income quality. So somehow its influence on the corruption, on the lower integrity from the other people. So I think that, yeah. So I think bureaucracy in Japan also somehow very tight, right? That's why the numbers of corruption are very low. Okay. All right. The Nadiatus, a very, very nice discussion, and I hope that a lot of people could get at least 1 or 2 point on a new opinion and such from your discussion. Okay, since we don't have any other question from the audience, I think we will until then. Okay, thank you very much, Doctor, and we are looking forward to see you perhaps next year in Malaysia, inshallah.
Okay,
Hi.
okay, okay.
Okay.
See you soon. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor.
See you.
Okay,
Everybody.
bye-bye. Hi. So thank you very much, participants. And also we would like to thank our speaker once again. So we're going to have a break until 11:05, and then we'll come back with the session one with the topic of session one with the editor journal of Al Tamadun, effective journal writing in Islamic Studies with Professor Dr. Roslan Muhammad Noor, inshallah. Thank you, and I'll see you around 11:05.
Right, thank you, Dr. Izzati. So we will start again at 11:05, yeah?
Yes, doctor, we'll start again at 11:05 minutes.
Okay, I think Dr. Roslan is here. Maybe Dr.
Or
Roslan, Prof. I mean, we will start at 11:05, but I think I want to communicate with Dr. Roslan first to try the slide. Probably, what I think he's busy right now. It's okay. So we will have 15 minutes around that break. Then we'll go for the next session, inshallah. Okay.
okay, doktor, terima kasih.
Right.
Terima kasih everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okey, Assalamualaikum Prof. Apa khabar?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Apa khabar?
Okey, alhamdulillah. Sihat
Fauzi? Okay, very good.
Kejap. Very good. Alhamdulillah. Okey, ni
Slide.
okey, nampak Prof pakai ni pakai install Webex tu guna guna ni Alright.
Saya pakai ni web.
Pakai web. Okey. Sekejap. Kita
Boleh ke ya?
boleh. Nampak kita kena besarkan.
Ya.
Okey, kita tunggu seminit
Kita
dulu sikit.
besarkan. Okey.
Alright, clear. Cuma mikrofon tu macam dia macam pitching dia tinggi sikit.
Pitching dia tinggi. Macam mana saya nak buat ya?
Kita tahu. Saya rasa okey kot ni. Mungkin okey, tak apalah, it's okay kot. Okey. Mungkin kita kena slowkan
Saya
sikit.
mikrofon ni saya tak pandai nak.
Kita tahu.
Dia pakai built-in.
Alright. Okay, kita rasanya sebab kita start tadi, kita break tadi 15 minit.
Okey.
Kita start seminit dua lagi sekejap.
Boleh.
Okay. Right.
No problem.
Kat office ke kat library tu? Nampak macam kat library je.
Ini kat office ni, kat bilik baru pinjam. Pinjam
Okay.
banner belakang UM ya.
Okay. Alright, Dr. Izzati, you want to introduce first or you can just start?
So depend on you lah, kalau doktor nak start, saya ni doktor start.
Okay, so I will start straight away lah. Alright.
Okay then hand over to you lah doktor.
Okay, alright. Okay, thank you, Dr. Izzati. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And very good morning to all participants. Alhamdulillah, we just finished our first sessions with the keynote speaker session with Dr. Nadia. I think that was a very interesting topic about the integrity. This is a good start to understand the integrity that been forgotten in the Islamic world. And thank you, Dr. Nadia and Dr. Mansoure for arranging the sessions for the keynote keynote speech. So now we move into these first sessions for our workshop, which I think that very much interesting on the journal writings. And we have here today with us Professor Dr. Roslan Muhammad Noor. Before I invite him to talk about the topic, please allow me to introduce about Professor Dr. Roslan. Professor Dr. Roslan is a professor at the Department of Islamic History and Civilizations, Academy of Islamic Studies, University of Malaya. Welcome, Dr. Roslan, Prof. Roslan. Okay, quite a long time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay,
thank you very much.
Alhamdulillah.
Yep.
He's currently head of department, Dr. Roslan, Prof. Roslan?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm head of the department at the moment. Yeah.
All right. Head of Department of Islamic History and Civilizations, APIUM, and he's also editor-in-chief for Journal Tamadun. For most of you, I think, knows about the Journal Tamadun. It is a journal published by University of Malaya, right? And it is currently indexed by Emerging Source Citation Index and also Scopus. All right. So I think he is the right person to talk about the effective journal writing, especially for those researchers in Islamic studies. Okay. So I don't want to further elaborate about our speaker today. So without further ado, I would like to invite Professor Dr. Roslan to give his speech on the effective journal writing in Islamic studies. Okay, Prof. Roslan, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawala. Good morning, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank my dear brother, Associate Professor Dr. Fauzi Hussein for introducing me. I would like also to take this opportunity to thank especially Dr. Suri, Dr. Mansoure, for her effort to book my schedule to join this session. Alhamdulillah. And also I would like to thank the Academy of Islamic Civilization, Faculty of Social Science, UTM, for organizing this very good session on journal publication workshop for the researchers in Islamic Studies. Alhamdulillah. And welcome everybody to this program. I probably will talk on the topic that has been given to me, which is the effective journal writing in Islamic Studies. I hope you can see my slides. Okay, I prepare my slides for this session. To begin with, I started my journey at the University of Malaya, becoming a lecturer here in 2007. 2007, after I completed my PhD in at the end of 2005, at the beginning of 2006. And then after I completed my PhD, I wasn't under any scholarship when I went to study in the UK. I stayed for a year and a half before I came back to join the University of Malaya in 2007. And then in 2007, we have a new Vice Chancellor, if I'm not mistaken, 2007 or 2008. And then we see that there are so many changes in terms of the direction of the university. And then one of them is the focus on the publication. In 2018, I was awarded the Anugerah Akademi Negara. I received this award from the then the 7th Prime Minister of Malaysia, which is Tun Mahathir. And then the Minister of Education during that time was Dr. Mazli in 2018. This is because one of the books that I published with the University of Malaya Press, which is the Significance of Islam Jerusalem in Islam, has been selected and won the category of book publication for the Anugerah Akademi Negara. So I hope that everybody in this workshop can try to get this award, because this is one of the prestigious awards in Malaysia that we have at the moment. And I do not hear anyone got the award under the category of book publication since 2018. I mean, since the last that I got this award. So we hope that in the near future, this year or next year, we will have someone who get the award for the book category of the publication. Okay. Let me proceed with the discussion this morning. Why we need to publish? So this is the question, a basic question that everyone, I think, need to aware of. I mean, need to be concerned on why you want to publish. There are many reasons. I know some of you probably wanted to publish or to get your paper published because of the promotion criteria. Some of you probably because of the KPI, key performance indicator every year. And some of you probably just for a casual interest, you want to get published. Whatever the reasons that you want to publish, to get your article published, something that we have to bear in mind on Islamic studies, I think at the least of the reason is the prospect of informing others and prospect of getting our message understood by the people who, by the public out there. Okay. Are there any specific targets that you need to achieve? Do you have to publish in what we call it now as Clarivate Analytics Web of Science or Scopus? What kind of challenges that you have faced so far during your time to get your paper published? So this is something that I think if we can answer this kind of question, probably we can have a sort of background studies on what we have done so far, and we can proceed with our plan for the future. Okay, so the questions is how to be effective. How to be effective in writing Islamic Studies article. For me, there is none other than to make sure that you have a clear goal, what you want to do, what you want to be. What we mean by a clear goal is that you have to look into the criteria of your university, the the KPI of the university, and what you want to be in the near future. Okay? If you have your clear goal, then I think you have to plan for your success. Someone said that you have to dream big. If you afraid to dream big, that's mean that you are not having a great, or not having a clear goal, or not having a very you have to make sure that you need to have a clear goal, and then you need to plan for your future, and the plan must be above your above your normal achievement, so that you need to be a little bit ahead of others in terms of planning for yourself. And then the third one is to follow others' footsteps. This is something which I also look into, that we have to have someone that we need to imitate their success, so that we also can be successful in our life. So this is someone, some success people also, they said that we need to stand on the shoulder of the success people. Okay, so meaning that you need to have your mentor, which you can imitate to be a successful person. Okay. What are the rules you should be following when writing a research journal, and also especially in Islamic studies? Based on some experiences, for me, Fauzi, saya punya slide ni sekejap dia on, sekejap dia off. Saya kena tutup saya punya ni sekejap .
Okey. Kalau nak saya sharekan pun tak apa ke macam mana?
Apa
Okay.
saya ni
Okay. Right.
saya pakai save. Okay, based on some experiences, and also based on my experience, I think there is no specific rule that we have to follow to have what we call it, the to write a research journal article. There is a general guideline, but there is no specific one. It depends on the journal itself. It depends on the journal. So if you have a targeted journal that you want to get your paper published, then you have to follow the guideline of the journal. And guideline of the journal is sometimes is differ from one to another. Most of the time, it's not sometimes, most of the time it's differ from one to another, especially in terms of referencing, in terms of technicalities, how to prepare the manuscript. But then there are tips which I also read and which I also benefited from the Routledge. If we look into this, we can understand how we have to prepare the manuscript and to be effective in preparing the manuscript so that our manuscript won't get rejected when we send to any journals available out there. Okay, the first one is get to know the journal you want to submit. I think this is a good idea to choose your target journal before you start writing your paper. Sometimes we kind of in the crossroad between whether we wanted to choose the journal first or we want to write an article first. For me, it is both ways. You can have your article, your ready article, and also you can start with choosing a journal. If you start with choosing a journal, this is a little bit easier to get your paper published because you follow the guideline from the beginning. But if you have a ready paper, you need to have a skills of journal mapping. How to map a journal, how to search for a suitable journal for your paper. So this is another skills that you need to have when you have a ready paper to get published. For me, I can work with both ways. In my experience, I write for a journal using a specific targeted journal, and I also have a ready paper. Sometimes for me, I feel easier as well if we have a ready paper. But we need to know the game, how to search for a suitable journal to get our paper published. If you know the journal first, that means you can tailor your writing to the journal's requirement and readership and increase your chances of acceptance. This is the advantage if you choose the journal first before you write your paper. And then the second one is to stick to the point what you want to write. The strongest papers usually have one point to make. This is very crucial to know about this, because some of the papers that we receive from authors, whether it comes to my journal or it comes to other journal who ask me to review an article, normally we will see that some papers, they have more than one objective. If you have more than one objective, it will be difficult for you to make sure you can achieve that objective in your writing. So normally the journal paper, they have a very specific target, a very specific objective. Normally they have only one objective that they wanted to work with. Okay? So they make a full use of the point, and they can make it very powerful and then back it up with evidence and position it within the field of the study. That's the second tips. The third one is to create a logical framework. The structure of your journal papers is just as important as the content itself and helps to guide the reader through in a clear way. So this is a logical framework of your paper. So the discussion must be following the logic from one paragraph to another paragraph, and from one subtopic to another subtopic. It is a logical within the logical framework. The fourth one is don't be afraid to explain. You have to express yourself in the paper. Write with confidence. Give the reader certainty in your research. Describe your methodology and approach. And then also don't forget to explain acronyms. These acronyms, normally when we write the paper on Islamic studies, there are a lot of acronyms that we use. Sometimes we wanted to keep the Arabic term. So that Arabic term need to be explained. Sometimes we use acronyms in Islam. For instance, SAW, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, right? SAW, or peace be upon him. Sometimes we just write SPBUH. So this kind of things, a general acronyms which already known does not need to be explained, but the one that how to say it, the one that not been used regularly, then we need to explain this kind of acronyms. Another problems that I always see on the article that has been given to me to review is that the voice of the author, we cannot see the voice of the author in the paper. Sometimes the author doesn't use the right words to express their views, to express the ideas on the paper. They always quote from scholars. So these scholars, and these scholars, and then it kind of ending up like that. So there is no views from the author on the issues that they brought up on the paper. So this is something which a little bit lack within the Islamic studies papers. Clarity is a key. Clarity, make your writing accessible by using a clear language. Clarity, you need to write with a clear language. The problem with us is that not many of us who write a paper on Islamic studies, we can write in a good English. So what we need to do is that we need to make sure our paper be edited by a professional editor. Not only a single level editing, but we can go to second level or third level editing. What I mean by second level or third level editing, first level editing sometimes is just a normal editing. And then you need to send for another editor to look onto your paper. So you have to have a good contact with editors who can help you in terms of checking the language of the paper and looking at the academic language. Academic language is different with a normal language. Sometimes we tend to send to editor, he or she only check the grammatical errors. Grammatical errors is not enough in academic writing. Grammatical errors is good for the early stage of editing, but you need to have more on the academic style of sentences. And then the sixth one is to be aware of the other literature. This is, you need to have what we call it the literature studies, literature which are similar to the topic that you are going to write. And you have to cite it. This is what we call it, cite while you write. You need to cite, you need to refer, you need to have a reference. You need to have this kind of things. The style of references can be like a footnote or endnotes. or you use the APA style or things like that, that doesn't matter. The most important is that you need to have a citation for your paper. Paper without citation, I do not see many cases which the papers without references be published in any what we call it, the index journal. And then the keberapa ni? Yang ketujuh. The seventh one is that make your references current and relevant. Okay? You need to have recent references on your study. For Islamic studies, normally we tend to refer to the reference which were published long time ago, because we argue that this is the original sources which we need to refer. There is nothing wrong with that, but on top of that, you need also to refer to the recent papers or recent publication which have been published within the 5 years back, within the 5 years of publication times. So your literature review should take into consideration, the current state of the literatures. Don't talk about recent research if you are giving citation from the 1990s or only 1990s and below. Okay, so make sure that you need to have a recent reference, because once you send to any journal, they wanted to know. They will regard that your paper is a recent paper, so they will check your reference to see whether you refer or you cite or not any references within the 5 years of publication. Okay, and then of course your paper need to be original paper before you submit to the journal. This is the article I put it here as article skeleton. This is the normal anatomy of the articles. Articles anatomy. If you talk about the academic articles, this kind of information need to be inside the article. You must make sure about this. You need to have title, abstract, of course. You need to have keywords, introduction, main body, conclusion, acknowledgement, and also references. So I think this is normal to everyone. I believe that you have this experience and you know how to include this in your paper. This is a very, very, very simple one, right? There are some dilemmas and also some issues when we write the Islamic manuscripts. The first one for me is the Quranic and Hadith text versus translation. This is normally the dilemmas for us. Many of the authors who write the Islamic studies article, they put the Quranic and Hadith text on the paper. So for me, there is nothing wrong with that. But again, it is up to the specific journal that you are targeting to. Okay, some of the journals, they accept for you to put the Quranic and Hadith text inside your paper. But many of the journals, they won't accept the Quranic text or Arabic text and also Hadith text on the paper. So this is something which we have to check before we submit our paper to any particular journals that we want to submit. Some of the journal, they only take the translation of the Quranic text or Hadith text. They put the translation. The problem with the translation is that some of the words of the translation sometimes is not giving a correct meaning to what we wanted to explain on the paper. So in this case, we have to make sure that we do enough explanation and we do enough study on the paper itself to make sure that there is no misunderstanding on the quotation, on the Quranic and Hadith text on our paper. Okay, the second one is using some words such as holy. Holy. I got to know that some papers, especially from people from, sorry to mention some countries in the Middle East, people from Pakistan, from Iran, and from some other Middle East countries, when they write the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it is not just Prophet Muhammad. They will write Holy Prophet Muhammad, the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then when they write about Quran, they will put like the Holy Quran. Holy Quran. Sometimes they put the word Holy Book. Holy Book. Holy Book that refers to Quran. So this kind of words, for the international journal that publish in the West, normally you will get that paper rejected. Okay, because of some words which for the West is not giving any meaning to them, but it gives some sort of macam mana nak kata that we kind of giving extra extra takdis, the word takdis in that we always mention about this on this kind of things. Okay, so if you are targeting to send your paper to the journal published by Routledge or published by Springer or published by Elsevier, I think it is better to avoid this kind of words. This kind of words. Okay. The third one is the title of the scholars. This is, I can say that I see a lot of papers which they use the title of the scholars that they mention. For instance, when they mention about Yusuf Al-Qaradawi, Yusuf Al-Qaradawi, normally they will put Professor Dr. Yusuf Al-Qaradawi. The names of the Imam, for instance, Imam Shafi'i, Imam Al-Razi. This is something that we also need to check with the journal that we targeted to send our paper to. You check the archive. From the archive, you can check the previous papers published, whether in that paper they use this kind of title or not. If they do not use this kind of title, meaning that that journal, they do not want to accept this kind of title in their paper. And then using a strong words. For example, Islam is the only solution. Islam is the only way of life. Islam is the only this and that. So this kind of strong words also we need to avoid in writing the academic paper. You can try to play around with the words. For Muslims, they believe that Islam is the religion of something like that. Okay, so you have to make sure the using of this kind of sentences. What we can say as the propagate sentences, avoid by bringing opinions. To avoid propagating sentences, you have to bring opinions. So that is what I meant. To avoid the propagate sentences, you are kind of propagating others. You are telling others this and that, this and that. You are kind of putting your religion above their religions. So if we are targeting for the Islamic journal that publish in Islamic countries, there is no problem in that. But if you are publishing in the journal published by this kind of reputable publisher, then we need to make sure we play around with the sentences. Okay. This one is what we have to do for effective writing of Islamic manuscripts. I put here 5 points. First, be objective in the writing of the manuscripts of the article. Be objective meaning that you need to have a clear objective, a clear objective on writing the paper. You are writing academic paper, you are not writing the conference paper, or you are not writing a khutbah paper, which is a one-way traffic. You write academic paper, you have to bear in mind that someone will read and someone will cite, and there is a probability that someone will criticize your idea in their writings. Okay, so you need to be objective and avoid bias. Do not claim everything is your idea. This is something which I feel still lacking within the Islamic manuscripts, the writing of Islamic article. Among Muslims authors, this is something we are still lack, because we tend to cite people, but we do not express our idea. We do not come to conclude the discussion. We just follow what this scholar said, what this scholar said, what this scholar said. But the expression of ourselves in the research paper is not very clear, meaning that the contribution of us is only bringing the other scholars' opinion, not our own contribution to have our ideas or to explain in the paper. Right. The first one is always cite scholars with authority. You need to make sure that your citation, the scholars that you cite in your paper, it is an authoritative one. There are a lot of debates when it comes to, for instance, the online referencing, online references. Someone in many occasions that I attended, the speakers or the editors always mention, try to avoid the kind of Wikipedia punya referencing. So there are a lot of debate, a lot of issues in that. So these kind of things, we need to make sure that we cite scholars with authority and do not abandon Western scholars. This is something also in some countries, they are very sensitive to cite the scholars from the West. In some countries, they don't want to promote scholars from the West. I think there is nothing wrong for us to quote scholars from the West, and it is a good opportunity for us if we found that they propagate a misunderstanding of religion, misunderstanding of Islam, so that we can criticize them in our paper when we write the Islamic manuscript. So this is something that we have to make sure in order for us to have effective writing on Islamic manuscript. Okay, Dr. Fauzi boleh proceed lagi ya? Boleh move on
Boleh, okay boleh. In case kalau kata for those who want to ask, then you can write in the chat box then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To be effective, the way forward, for me, we have to have a clear plan. The way forward to have a good Islamic writing manuscripts. First, we start with the collaborative research. Why we need to have a collaborative research? This is, for me, the easiest and fastest ways how we can put our ideas together and to get them published. Yeah. When we collaborate on research, we can collaborate on publication. Yeah? We can collaborate on publication. Just imagine if we do not collaborate, we probably can only produce one paper or two papers per year. Just imagine if we collaborate with others, how many papers that we can publish with our ideas and with our input inside the paper. Not without the input. Kalau without the input, I myself, I do not agree that anyone without any input, they put their names on the publication. This is a tragedy. This is not a good practice, or what we can consider as malpractice among the authors. Okay, we have to avoid that. We have to avoid what the Indonesian scholars always say. Dia kata apa? Bonceng gratis. Bonceng gratis is not acceptable in academic world. We have to make sure that we contribute to the paper that we wanted to have a collaborative papers, and we wanted to have our names in that paper. Okay, so make sure on that. So pay attention on first authorship policy that I already explained the authorship, this one. Macam tadilah I mentioned about the bonceng gratis. That is actually related to authorship policy. You have to make sure when you write a paper on the collaborative project or collaborative publication, you need to make sure the authorship policy of your institution first. Okay, what your institution mentioned about the authorship policy. Second, you have to check the authorship policy of the journal that you wanted to publish in. Who should be on the paper, who should be the first author, who should be the second author, should be the fourth author, and who should be the corresponding author, and how many authors that you want to have for the article. Okay, pay attention also on the similarity index. Similarity index, this is to avoid plagiarism. Plagiarism is dosa yang tidak boleh dimaafkan. Unforgiven sin, kan? Unforgiven sin in academic arena. Okay, so don't send any articles which the similarity index is more than 30%. More than 30% is non-acceptable in journal article publication. Okay, so you need to make sure about this. I have experience receiving article which tend to be 90% similarity with other sources. 90%, 90%. I have that experience. I got the paper, and the first look on the paper is very interesting. I sent to the reviewers. The reviewers come with the report that they suspect this paper something like very good paper, so they asked me to check things like that, and then I run the similarity check by using Turnitin, and then we found out that the paper has 90% similarity with the online sources. So the result is that we reject, and then we ban the authors, we blacklist the authors for this for sending any other manuscripts in the future. And then we need also to pay attention on ethical approval. Ethical approval. When your subject dealing with human being or with animals, these days you need to have ethical approval. You need to have ethical approval. So how to get this ethical approval? Contact your institution, your own institution. I'm sure your institution have this. You can contact your Deputy Vice Chancellor Research and Publication. They can provide you with the information on how to get this ethical approval of your university, from your university. Okay. All right. Now we go on to a more concentrate discussion, how to get your paper published. It is not easy, but for me, it's not impossible. It's not impossible, especially in if we are talking about getting your paper published in index, a reputable index journal, which is the Clarivate Analytic Web of Science and also Scopus. If we are talking about the Malaysian Citation Index, or we are talking about any other index, I think there is no big challenge to publish in any other index than Scopus or Clarivate Analytics Web of Science. As of my experience, publication or publishing in Web of Science is more challenging than Scopus. Okay. What you need to do is that you need to study the topic, the title. You need to start with the topic and the title. The topic and the title of your paper. You need to make sure that the topic or the title is something interesting or something what we call it as catchy. And then you need to map the journal, mapping the journal. Mapping the journal is the ability for you to search the specific journal or the suitable journal for you to send your manuscripts. This is need to be a little bit hands-on, how to search the paper by using the database Web of Science, or by using the Scopus database, or the easiest one is by using the Google Scholar. Okay. Check the scope, follow the format, and also language. This is a normal one. Some of the journals which we can send our paper within the Islamic point of view papers. Okay, Islamic Studies papers. Okay, Islamic Studies papers. This is based on my experience as well, looking at the papers that my paper, and also we help others to get their papers to publish. ASEAN Women, for instance, there is nothing in this the title of the journal have the word Islam. It's not the Islamic ASEAN Woman or something ASEAN Muslim Woman, or the title of the journal is ASEAN Woman, but they accept the article from Islamic countries or from Islamic point of view, looking at the issues of women, gender studies. Actually, ASEAN Woman is the first journal which I published my Web of Science article. And this journal actually saved me from being put under, I got my confirmation at the University of Malaya when I published my paper in ASEAN Women, after 3 years working on how to get my paper published in Web of Science. Okay. Kalau tak, memang tak dapat confirmation. Okay, and then we have a Shajarah. This is in UIA, IIUM. We have the Journal of Higher Education, published monthly. We have the Journal of Shia Islamic Studies. This is related to Shia content, not specifically promoting the Shia idea, but you can write something that related to the culture of Shias. Probably you wanted to relate. I got the experience in publishing the paper in this journal by explaining the notion of Ali bin Abi Talib in the Malay culture. Because in the Malay culture, Ali, the Iranian people always say Imam Ali. We say Sayyidina Ali. Sayyidina Ali is always being propagated as the symbols of power. Symbol of power for the Muslims in Malaysia. For instance, if we have a stick, we have tongkat, we name it as Tongkat Ali. We name it as Tongkat Ali. Okay. So this is the symbol of power. We associate it with Sayyidina Ali. So we got our paper published in this Shia Islamic Studies. It's nothing to do with the Shia's Shia's expansion, or nothing to do with propagating Shias on that paper. It's just about the culture and things like that. We know that Shia in Malaysia is very sensitive, especially in Johor and also in Selangor, in my states. It's very sensitive about the issue. But again, we do not mentioning about and the paper is not about propagating, but it's just about the historical, cultural, and things like that. Okay. We have the Journal of Belief and Values, which I published also my paper in this, Belief and Values. This is about the religion. There are many more journals which are on Islamic studies, which you can try if you wanted to get your paper published in the journal index by Web of Science. Like for instance, we have Religions published by MDPI in Switzerland. And then we have also Religion and Religions. That one journal called Religions, the other journal called Religion without S. You can search it online. And then some Scopus journal, which I also have experience in publishing my paper in their journal, is that Multicultural Education. We have Botanica, UPM. Multicultural Education, the chief editor is in Brunei. You can send papers on Islamic education or something like that. Botanica, I saw a lot of papers on Islam in Botanica, and I'm also one of the editor appointed by Botanica to oversee the process of publication. We have the Kemanusiaan in USM. We have Jijat, and we have other journals which are published in Scopus. Many more titles that we can find in Scopus. And in Web of Science, I think now they have close to 14,000 titles in Web of Science itself. Okay, we move on. For me, the most important thing that we need to bear in mind is that we need to be ready if our paper be rejected. Okay, so we need to work on rejection. We need to be ready if our paper rejected. Before we send our paper to the journal, to reduce the rate of rejection, we need to study why some of the papers be rejected. Okay, so this is the things that if we get our paper rejected, first, don't fed up. We have to have a positive mind. Doesn't mean it doesn't reflect actually your work is not good, even though the comment is long or things like that. Don't feel that your work is not good. Focus on reshaping your paper and address the reason. Okay. The normal reason of rejection The normal reason of rejection. The most famous or the most apa nama ni kita kata, the most famous reason lah, is about language. Okay, it's about language. Okay, the second one is format, scope, descriptive. Your paper is descriptive, not relevant to general audience, and in-house rejection without reasons. I know someone who sent their paper in the morning and then they got rejection in the afternoon. Okay, after 2 hours sending the manuscript, they got the rejection. This is what we call it desk rejection or in-house rejection by the editor. So we need to work on that. So this is my experience when I got rejected. My paper was rejected. This is from the Journal of Muslim World Journal. Muslim World Journal. If you see here, the reason that they put is that if you can see at the third paragraph, however, in reading through your manuscript, I kept wondering if you had really meant to send this to another journal whose editor is also a Hartford seminary. This is the Muslim World Journal, whose editor is Dr. Yahya Mishok. Okay? For your good group of Malaysian scholars, I would strongly suggest that you go to the internet and look at the content of some of the articles in both the review of religious research, but especially in the Muslim World Journal. Maksudnya kita punya, that means our citation is not good enough. We are not referring to their journals or to the journals that they are suggesting. So that's why they reject the paper. Okay, the paper with the title Peaceful Coexistence in Religious Diversity, a case of Sabah, Malaysia. Okay. The other rejection that I myself received is that from the Indonesian Malay World Journal. Apa dia cakap di sini? The editorial board has assessed the article you submitted earlier this month. Unfortunately, it was decided that IMW Indonesia Malay World will not be able to publish the article. It was felt that the material was not sufficiently well ordered or analysed, and that the level of English was below the standard required to merit peer review. So maksudnya, this paper has not been sent for review. This paper is rejected. Was rejected by the editor straight away. Okay, without sending to reviewers. Okay, so this is my experience getting rejected. This is the third example of rejection that I got. Actually, I received not only 3 rejection, but countless rejection that I received. Countless rejection. So when I send the paper, I kind of already expected that I will receive the rejection within few days. Sometimes I feel like that. But luckily, some of the journals, they accept our paper. One of my experience that I got my paper published, the acceptance is within 2 days. This is from the journal published by Springer. The journal called the Publishing Quarterly Journal. Publishing Quarterly Journal. If you scroll my CV, which is available online, you can see one of the article that I published, if I'm not mistaken, 2017 or 2018, in Quarterly Publishing Journal. About the publication of Islamic English book in Malaysia. I published in that journal, and then they accept within 2 days. I sent, and then after 2 days, I got good news that they wanted to accept my paper with a minor correction only. Okay, so that is the fastest response that I got so far. publishing in that journal. During that time, index in Scopus and ESCI, Emerging Sources Citation Index. Yeah? Okay. Kalau yang acceptance, this is the first paper that I published in Web of Science, which I got accepted. And then I have to work really hard to make some changes that they wanted, because they want it to be within 2-3 days only. Yeah? 2-3 days only, because they wanted to publish their papers before the deadline of before the end of the year. Before the end of the year. So kalau tengok dekat sini, dia kata, please send your final paper by December 25th. You can send it earlier. It is urgent. It's urgent. So I have to work on this paper, and it's give me a real experience in dealing with this editor. And I miss my important program during that time, which I already confirmed to join. But I have to apologize with the organizers. This was in 2012. Sorry, 2011. So 2011, in December 2011. Okay, so this is another the journal that I mentioned to you, which is the Multicultural Education. The Multicultural Education. The editor is Professor Glenn Hadaker. Glenn Hadaker from University of Brunei now. He used to work in the UK, and he's the Mat Saleh lah from UK. Okay. Fazi, ada berapa minit lagi?
Kita ada lebih kurang 30 minit lagi.
Okay, I
Dan
come to my
kita go
conclusion.
Lah.
So we can open for the question and answer, right, Fazi?
Boleh, Prof, boleh.
So in my conclusion, I would like to say that to be effective in writing Islamic manuscript, we need to have again a clear plan, a clear goal, and then we need to move as quick as you can. Okay, time really fly fast, really. We are now in 2021 December. We are already approaching the end of the year, and then starting from next year, if you wanted to get your paper published by Web of Science journal in 2022, at least you need to submit your paper before June, before June 2022, because the process of publishing in Web of Science is really taking your time, taking a long time. Okay, if you can submit your paper earlier, it's much better. But for the Scopus journal, maybe the process is a little bit relaxed. Sometimes your paper can be published within 6 months after you submit. I mean, you submit, say like you submit in January, they process your paper, they send to the reviewers and things like that. They send you the acceptance in April. In June, your paper got published. But for Web of Science, it will take longer than that. That is my experience. Yes, there is some journals which can publish faster, but you have to be careful about the malpractice in publication, and do not publish in any journal which promise you that they can publish within 6 weeks or within 8 weeks, and then you have to pay a lot of money for that type of publication. Normally, the good practice journal, they do not promise to publish your paper when and do not promise to publish your paper in which issues before they get the reviewers to comment on your paper. So we have to be careful on the malpractice of journal publication, and please avoid also publishing in what we call it the bail list journal. Okay, bail list journal is something which is a no-no. No. Don't try to publish in the bail list journal, because the effect is that when you apply for promotion, they will look into the journal. Okay, you may get your KPI pass for that year, but when it comes to promotion, they will check your journal, and if they found that you publish in bail list, in malpractice journal, it gives some effects on your promotion process. Okay, so start something, do not wait and waste your precious time. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening, and I hope we can engage in the question and answer.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Professor Dr. Roslan. I think it's very, very insightful sharing by Professor Roslan. And if you look into his record of publication in Scopus database, Dr. Roslan has like 83 articles, published. So impressive, for the professors in Islamic Studies, alhamdulillah. Anyway, thank you, Dr. Roslan, Prof. Roslan. So let's move to the question and answer. We received quite numbers of questions here, and I will take. Do you want to answer one by one, or how, Dr. Roslan?
Yeah, Fauzi, we can probably collect the questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let us go for the first question here from Fatima. The question is, which database and journals are considered excellent for literature review in the field of Islamic studies?
Okay. Oh, that question,
Yeah, you go for the question first. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Fatima, I normally do not go for the database when I do the literature review. I just search on the current available article for the literature review. If you wanted to use a database, perhaps the Web of Science database is one of them. The Scopus database also can be used. And we have other database as well. It's like macam JSTOR is considered database, right? JSTOR, they provide the article from from earlier years, yeah. And then we have also the database of other publications. They also have the database. But for me, the cost-effective one, without having to pay for the for accessing the database, is using the Google Scholar. Using the Google Scholar. However, there is a problem with the Google Scholar. If your institution does not subscribe to the database, you will not have access to the full article of the article which are published in a specific databases. Okay, so but I think there are many journals which are using what we call it now the open access journal, the open access journal. And then there are many articles now available in Islamic Studies which they are published in open journal system, and they are indexed in the directory of open journal access, I mean the DOAJ. So if they are under the DOAJ, then you can have a free access. Okay, so thank you on that.
Okay, the second one on the submissions to the same journal. I mean, once the paper already rejected and then we resubmit again.
Yeah, with the same title, I don't think so, because the editor will know straight away. Okay, unless if the editor, when they reject your paper, they give the reasons and they ask for you to revise the paper and resend the paper. That is okay, but to send the same paper which was rejected without any consent from the editor, I don't think that they will consider your paper in the same journal. Don't just limit ourselves in the same journal. Please find any other journal, because we have plenty, thousands of journal out there. So don't just focus ourselves on a specific and a particular journal only. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Professor. I think for the selections of journals, we have a session this afternoon with Associate Professor Dr. Humaira. Maybe we can explore more on these selections of journals, inshallah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the next questions about the citing the Quran and Hadith.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the journal like Sajarah, do you still have to remove Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and Quranic verses in Arabic?
Yeah, I think the using of Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is okay. For the Quranic verses, we have to check. I do not know the current apa kita kata the current standard of the Ash-Shajarah journal, but we have to check, because that journal is accessible online. That journal is accessible. You can type in Google and get the journal and scroll down the article. If they use, if one or two articles use the Quranic verses, then you can remain the Quranic verses. If they do not have the Quranic verses in there, that means they do not prefer to print the Arabic text of Quranic verses. Okay.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Is it clear, Mrs. Fadila? Or do you want to add some more questions? Okay, yep, thank you. All right. Question from Siti Hawa. Should we cite from the same journal that we wish to send paper to that journal? So meaning that we cite papers
This
from
is
the
a
journals.
very tricky. This is a very tricky question, Dr. Fauzi. Some of the journal, they ask you to cite their own journal. This is, for me, is a malpractice. Because you know what, the journal, they wanted to play with the rank, the tier of the journal. If the journal got cited, that means they will increase the citation of the journal, and then they will increase the tier of the journals. Citation without without paksaan, is okay. Without paksaan is okay. But then the self-citation of the journal is only allowed about 20%. It's only allowed about 20%. Meaning that if you wanted to send your article to a particular journal, and then you have the list of references about 10, for instance. If you have more than 2 of your reference from the article of the same journal, it will give some effect to that journal. It will give some effects on that journal, because the citation from the same journal is more than allowable citation. Allowable citation from the perspective of citation, from the perspective of tiering your journal. But if that kind of journal does not pay any attention to that kind of citation games, so you just you just proceed. For me, do not cite excessively from the same journal which you want to send your paper into. 1 or 2 is okay. Yeah.
Okay, right. With regard to the citation as well, I personally have experience on this when I submit a paper and then get feedback from editor. Sometimes the editor himself actually suggests us, although they put a nice word, it's good if you can cite this paper, blah blah blah, in your articles. And evidently, apparently that we can see that the list of papers suggested is actually written by the editors. So yeah, I mean it's quite tricky as you said, because suggestions come from the editor, but I
Yes.
think as a author we have to be honest lah. We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be
Yeah.
to have integrity, because if the purpose is relevance and you think that
Yeah.
is related to your paper, then you might think. Otherwise, we can leave it, right, Dr. Prof.
Yeah.
Roslan?
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm. Okay. All right.
Very
So
true.
the next question is about from Nurliana Talib. For historical research, which source is better to refer in journal writing, premises or the recent articles? Yeah, I also have a question. On this, Prof. Roslan's. Yes, in your presentation, you mentioned that we need to cite the recent 5 years
Yeah.
articles, right?
Yeah.
But I sometimes our students sometimes when we say that the recent articles, they do not they just cite the 5 years, the recent 5 years. But the problem is sometimes the issues that they raise has been discussed like 20, 30 years ago, and
That's
the
right.
author did not
Yeah.
even cite a single, I mean, the main sources of the articles.
Yeah.
So what's your
Yeah.
view? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Fauzi. I think the best way for the Islamic studies manuscript is that we do not disregard the main sources. I mean the masdar, the main sources, the primary one. The primary one, regardless they published 20 years ago or 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, we have to go to the masdar. We have to go to the primary sources. But then when it comes to the discussion, when it comes to the explanation, we need to find the recent scholars who discuss about that issues as well. So meaning that we need to have a mix between the primary and the recent sources. So this will make our study stronger and stronger, because nowadays we do not have much left for us to study something which are not being studied by the current scholars, by the recent scholars. So many of the issues has been touched by scholars from Turkey, from Arab countries, and from this and that. We are left with very, very little options for us. So what we have to do is that we do not left the primary sources, which is really important in Islamic studies, because we are based on the primary data. But at the same time, we have to make sure multiply our effort to find the current study on that particular issues. So this is my opinion on this, because if we totally disregard the current discussion, our chances to get published is getting lesser and lesser. So at least in our study, we have in the list of references, we have at least 5 or 6 references which are current, and then the rest probably is the refer to the primary sources we are published, which was published maybe long time ago. This is especially for those who study manuscript. Sometimes they do not have options, because the manuscript was probably written in the year of 1000 after Hijrah, or 1000 Masihi. So this is very difficult for them to find the recent study on that. Okay, so that is my comment on that. So we have to try to make balance in terms of referencing. Do not disregard the primary sources, and also do not disregard the current study. So we try to make balance. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. Then the next question is about the open access. Does it have a bigger chance?
Yeah. This is
Bigger chance,
the open access journal, they have bigger chances to get more citation, So when it gets cited, once the article got cited and the citation increased day by day, it will give a good impact to the journal, not only to the paper. So the journal will have a chances to get high impact. To get a good tier in the ranking of the journals. So the question is, have a bigger chances to be a high impact article. No, article they do not. I think they do not have a term of high impact article. They got high impact journal. Okay, so it gives chances for the journal to be a high impact journal. In order for a particular journal to get high impact journal, they need to make sure that the publication of the article within the 2 years publication, within the back 2 years, say like this is 2021, so a particular journal need to make sure that the articles that they publish in 2019 got a certain number of citations. If they get a lot of citation for the article in 2019 and 2020, meaning that for the tier of 2021, which will be measured next year, they will be higher. They will get a chances to be a higher impact journal. So they have to make sure the publication within the 2 years, not the back publications. The back publication, they do not count it for the tier punya tier punya tiering, the tiering of the journal. Okay.
Okay. Maybe I can add some more, Dr. Roslan, Prof. Roslan, regarding the open access. For the open access journal, there are two types actually. The first one is you do not need to pay. It can be accessed anywhere, anytime. All right.
Yes.
And then another one is open access. You need to pay the open access, especially for those published by the the good reputable journal like Routledge, Francis and Taylor, and so on.
Yes.
The reason they use this open access scheme is to allow your paper to be accessed by those who do not subscribe. Right? For example, if our university do not subscribe, and then you can download the papers easily without any to subscribe the journal lah. And then if you publish in the open access journal, the chances to get your paper cited is much higher lah.
Yes.
So that if your paper, provided that your paper is good and has a reader lah, the topic itself is promising, is still in trend, then your colleague or other researchers can easily read and cite your paper. So that's the reason for the open access lah. So it gives impact for your articles, for yourself to be cited, and then it will definitely increase your what we call the H index. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So right. So let us move to the next question. Is it okay, Prof. Roslan? We have another
Yes.
a lot of questions here. Yeah. Very hot actually. Hot topic. All right. And then about the Journal Tamadan, how long it takes to get feedback from the editors after article submissions for Journal Tamadan?
Yeah, this is it depends. Once you submit on the system, you will receive automatic notification to the journal stating that your article has been safely submitted and safely received. I do not know the sentence that you will get, but then it's kind of acknowledging that you have sent your article to the journal. the process it take longer nowadays because the problems with the reviewers. We do not have many database of the reviewers. The reviewers that we have receive 2-3 papers per year, and sometimes we have also to study the psychology of the reviewers. Sometimes they also think about why they always receive the article from Tamadun to review. So
Umran as well.
we give times for the reviewer for 3 weeks to review the article, but our reviewers, some of them, they just cannot do it within 3 weeks. Just cannot do within 3 weeks. Some of them sometimes 2 months, 3 months. Some of them we have to remind. Some when we remind, they do not want to be reviewer. That after 2-3 months, so we have to find another reviewers. And for the journal of Atamadun, our normal practice is if we get rejection, one say like we send to 2 or 3 reviewers, one of them reject the article, one of them accept with minor, one of them accept without any correction, we will consider the article to be rejected. If we receive only one rejection, we will consider it as a rejection, a rejected paper. And the time frame nowadays take longer because of the process that we are currently facing. So some of the papers, even though they suggest the reviewers, but the reviewers that they suggested to us, we already assigned another paper, which they do not respond to us. So this is the problem that we are facing at the moment, and we do not pay for the reviewers. Probably that's why the reason of not getting a feedback quick enough. And we used not to charge the authors, but nowadays because of we do not have enough fund to maintain our journals. Many of our editors, they have other commitments also, so we need to find someone. Perhaps from next year we can get someone who will be full-time in charge of the journal. So starting from this year, from December issue, we put some charges to the authors. That is not before, or that is not the charge for the submission, but it is a charge which we put a fees after a certain paper is accepted. If the paper is rejected, there is no charge for that. There is no fees for that, no need to pay anything. But to get the paper in Journal Atamadun now, I can say that it is quite tough because our editor always asks the paper whether it is within the scope of Tamadun or history or not. So if it is within the Islamic history and within Islamic civilization, inshallah it will be smooth process. And we are looking actually the papers on a pure Islamic history. What we meant by pure Islamic history is the article that discuss from the perspective of Islamic history itself. It's not like nowadays we have kind of macam contoh, we have apa nama ni apa kita kata ya, Wazi, can you give me an example of paper which I can reflect whether it is on Islamic history or not? Like
dinar, for example, about dinar.
Dinar, okay, dinar. Dinar nowadays we consider it out of the scope of Tamadun because it is more on di mata wang, and it is more on kita kata more on money punya discussion kan. Nowadays we do not regard it as Islamic history, even though you discuss it for the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So some of our editor, maybe they will say that this is not in the scope of Islamic history. So this is a little bit on Jannah Tamadun, but we welcome anyone who would like to submit their papers. Just submit it online, and inshallah we will see the paper, and we will look into it. Some of the authors, they send the paper in June, in July, and sometimes in October. They receive, they do not receive any news from August, September, but suddenly in October, they receive an email that the article was rejected. So some of them feel disappointed. But as I mentioned in my slides before, do not be disappointed when your paper has been rejected. Of course, you will feel it, of course, because I also got the experience when my paper was rejected. I feel like, oh, what is this journal? But do not be sad, do not be, because we have other options to send our paper in other journals, which are so many out there. Inshallah, if your paper accepted by Journal Tamadun, alhamdulillah. If your paper do not be accepted in the Journal of Tamadun, get other avenues to send the paper. Okay, thank you.
Perhaps the last questions about the primary sources. This is a follow-up questions from the previous one. If you cannot read the primary sources because they are in Arabic, how do we cite it for our article?
This is very interesting for me. For the Islamic article, for the Islamic studies manuscript, for the Islamic studies article, if your topic is on the if your topic cannot avoid to refer to the masdar, to the primary sources, you have to do in whatever cost. In whatever cost, you cannot just disregard it. You cannot just leave it like that. You need to find ways. If you cannot read Arabic, you need to find probably your RAs. You need to pay for the RA, a special research assistant, to get the text translated correctly, or teach you how to read that Arabic sources. Even though you do not know how to read it in the beginning. Make sure that you refer, make sure that you do this. In Islamic studies, in many instances, we can see in the West, for instance, the scholars in the West, some of them, they are really good in Arabic. They can read Quran. They can read when they present the history of the kalimat Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I saw in my eyes, actually this one, I witnessed in my eyes. One of the really big di apa nama ni, kalau kita use a negative image, we call it like orientalist, big orientalist kan. We call it big scholars lah. When they present, they explain the historical background of the kalimat Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, which not many Muslims know about that. So this is the scholars from the West, which we always criticize them. They know how to read. What more for us, Muslims, by birth? Even though we cannot read, we have to find ways how to read it by apa nama ni, inviting others and invite collaborators to work with us. If you cannot read Arabic, invite Dr. Fauzi to collaborate with you, and inshallah he can help, and invite others also to be, inshallah. Fatimah. So hope this can enlighten some apa nama ni, give you some motivation to write article and to get published. Inshallah next year everyone can publish in Web of Science journals, or be able to get published in Web of Science journal. Inshallah, we put that target, and inshallah we can work together. Fauzi can make a group. Everyone. Inshallah. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Prof. Roslan. I think we can have a consortium for the journal in Islamic Studies in Malaysia. I think Umran also has a same problem like Prof. Roslan said. To find a reviewer, it's quite tough because not all lecturers, not all researchers can give times to read and comment our articles. But I would suggest to you, as long as you are a young lecturer or PhD researcher, you can offer yourself to be a reviewer, right, Prof. Roslan? So,
Yes.
So actually, it will help us actually editors and to review our paper, because normally we'll get 2 or 3 reviewers. And then you also can learn. I'm still learning. I'm still also learn how to be a good reviewer. I normally offer myself to be a reviewer for a reputable journal indexed by Web of Science, Scopus, and etc. Because of what? Once you have submitted your reviewer, the editor will give you feedbacks from other reviewers, so that you can learn response from other reviewers as well. Okay, I think we are already out of time, Dr. Prof. Roslan. Are you okay? You want to take any other questions, or you can
It's up to you.
come to an end?
I
I think
the listeners, to the followers, I think they are already thinking for lunch now.
yeah, exactly. So inshallah,
I had a good
Mm,
breakfast, so I do not feel hungry.
it's a brunch, yeah. Anyway, we're gonna have another, few other sessions, two sessions, and the 2 sessions in the afternoon, yeah, with Associate Professor Dr. Kadir from AIUM.
Yeah.
Sorry, AIUM, yeah, APIUM, yeah.
Yes.
Been living UM for a long time, Prof. Roslan. And then we have Associate Professor Dr. Humaira this afternoon, inshallah. And so you can reserve your questions. I believe you have so many questions you want to ask. Inshallah, we have a great panel for this afternoon and tomorrow, inshallah. For the Professor, I think we can end our sessions again. Thank you very much on behalf of the committee and Academy of Islamic Civilization, Faculty of Social Science and Humanities. You have done very great sharing with us, very insightful. So I believe all of us learned a lot from your sessions, and perhaps after this we can continue to communicate, and all participants can contact Prof. Roslan, and if you have any other questions regarding the journal Tamadun, etc. Okay, all right, thank you very much. I think that's end of our sessions for today, for the second sessions. I will leave this to perhaps Dr. Izzati for the maybe wrap up for this morning sessions. All right,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. Roslan and Dr. Fauzi, for very fruitful discussion and also information from Prof. Roslan. Inshallah, we will coming back on the second session at 2 p.m. So all participants are welcome to join us again at 2 p.m. exactly. And then we're going to have our second speaker, which is the Associate Professor Dr. Kadir bin Ahmad, inshallah. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you very much and see you all again. Perhaps we're going to take a picture. So please turn on your camera so that we can have a photo session.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Dr. Izzati ni pensyarah dekat ni juga
Ya, saya, Prof.
Akademi Tamadun Islam.
Ya, betul-betul.
Oh, okay.
Sekejap ya. Okay.
Your area in what is your area?
My area is on Islamic economics. My research interest is on wakaf and Islamic economics, Islamic social welfare.
Ni anak murid Kosugi ni. Kosugi. Anak murid Kosugi, Prof.
Professor Kosugi, Japan.
Yeah,
Ya, saya.
sensei,
Oh,
great sensei.
Masya Allah.
Mhm.
Professor Sugi.
Yeah.
Is it in Waseda or in apa? Japan? Tokyo kah?
I'm with Kyoto University previously.
Kyoto, yeah.
Yeah, so Dr. Hakimi and also Kosugi Nagaoka was in the same institution lah. Okay. Alright, Prof, let's
Can
take
you
a
speak Japanese?
boleh lah sikit-sikit. taklah expert, Prof.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Oh, ni Dok Fauzi punya clan lah ni.
Jauh. Dia ada bau bacang, ada bau bacang.
Ha?
Ada bau bacang je.
Bawa
Clan
macam
in economics lah, Islamic economics.
Lebih kurang macam tu lah.
Kejap kita tunggu Dr. Khairi kejap untuk ambil gambar. Okay, alright.
Boleh.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, kena angkat tangan eh?
Okay, boleh.
Trademark.
Okay, terima kasih ya.
Okay,
Alright.
terima kasih once again, Prof. We're looking forward to have you on another session, insyaAllah, soon.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very,
Thank you, everyone.
yeah.